This video is sponsored by Skillshare. At the time I'm recording this, Colleen Hoover is one of the most successful writers in the United States. She's amassed a huge following on TikTok, where her books constantly trend and have blown up since 2020. Colleen, why are you doing this to me? I don't know, I'm Southern. The reason I wanted to read this is because I find this phenomenon similar to what was going on with A Little Life. A lot of people like to record their reactions crying to those books. The reviews of this book are generally extremely positive or extremely negative. Now, I went into this expecting to not like it. This is a story of Lily and Ryle, how they fall in love, and what happens to their relationship. I mean, the guy is a neurosurgeon who's also a bad boy. It almost turns against the romance genre, it seems like, because we're presented with very typical romance characters, and then we see the flip side of it. When it turns out to be an abusive relationship, we are forced to reckon with what we have previously read, and we're forced to deal with the consequences. This book is primarily focused on the theme of domestic abuse. So why is this book so popular? Point number one, it's very easy to read. I don't want to look down on that. I think that it appeals to general audiences because it is general. It's also hindered by that because it's dealing with such a heavy topic. In order to address this issue, it has to be very didactic, and there's not a ton of nuance there. Very rarely do the sentences fixate on specific details. You know, we're in Boston, but it doesn't feel like Boston. It could be any city. The types of cars, the types of drinks, the names of roads, like details are lost. It makes it very readable and delivers an impactful, blunt message, but there's not much there beyond that didactic message. So for those of you who want my unfiltered thoughts, I'll go into spoilers at the end of the video because I do feel like I need to rant a little bit. But first, a word from our sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity with Skillshare. I love Skillshare. It's great. I enjoy just like browsing their classes and trying new things out. Obviously, I've talked in the past about the Writer's Toolkit, 6 Steps to a Successful Writing Habit by Simon Van Boyd. I mean, that was just a great practical way to set up a good writing habit, which I'm still working on. I'm also trying to start merch for the channel, so I also looked into graphic design basics. Core Principles for Visual Design by Ellen Lupton. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads. They're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused. Skillshare now offers classes in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. The first 1,000 people to click on the link in the description get Skillshare for free for 1 month. Go check it out. Back to the video. I actually like this book. I don't like the writing and I don't like the characters, but I liked it. Just to get an idea of the kind of writing style you're dealing with this book, just here's a few excerpts. His eyes narrow as his hand moves to the underneath of my foot. He slowly traces his fingers from the tops of my toes down to my heel. I still very much want to fuck you. Someone gasps. And it isn't me. Ryle and I both look at the doorway, and Alyssa is standing there, wide-eyed. Her mouth is open. That's his sister, by the way. He's just saying this, like, with his family around. All right. Reading about the things my dad used to do to my mom kind of puts me in a bad mood. Reading about Atlas kind of puts me in a sad mood. Believe me, Lily, I know that wasn't a pity fuck. I was there. He walks out the door, and his words knock me straight back into my seat. Only my seat is no longer there. It's still on the other side of my office, and I'm now on the floor. She forgot that she walked across the office, so she landed on her butt. The characters themselves are just walking cliches. The main character's best friend just walks in to her flower shop and is just suddenly her best friend, you know, at the snap of the finger. Insane plot conveniences to get characters to meet, but again, it's more about just like putting you in to experience the story as if it's happening to you. But I think the issues that people have with it is that it can't. It doesn't know how. It doesn't have the ability to dive deeper into the issues of domestic abuse. It has an effective plot structure. It's very well structured. In that structure, it loses a lot of character. It loses a lot of personality. There are benefits to that. And there are cons to that. Some of my problems with the lack of detail is that when there is very specific detail on one thing, it kind of consumes the book. For example, there's no references to pop culture pretty much anywhere in the book, maybe a few here and there. I think they mentioned Gordon Ramsay, but the one main pop culture reference this book has is Ellen DeGeneres. Extended sequences of this book where the framing device for the main character's journal is that she's writing letters to Ellen. So it starts at Dear Ellen, blah, 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 blah. I didn't mind this. I thought it was kind of like cute. Okay, she's in high school, whatever. She likes Ellen. But the problem is, as it's like the only pop culture reference, it feels like it's all consuming. It feels like it's out of nowhere. Like, why this like weirdly specific thing all of a sudden? If the book had been populated with that kind of personality the whole way through, then I think it could have worked. This book is really powerful because it begs you to interact with its themes. Some would call this style manipulative. Point number 3. It's manipulative. This book in particular becomes sort of a morality tale. I think it creates a really interesting conversation, especially around consent and abuse. There are a lot of red flags. I mean, this could be called Red Flag the book. You read it and you go, wow, this is really weird behavior. Ryle basically stalks her, begs for sex, repeatedly ignores her when she says no, yet it all fits within the trappings of romance novels and romance structure. That Ryle is abusive could be really shocking. If this were written in a different way, maybe by a better writer, this could be shown in a really effective way to display how abuse is manifested in small things and how it escalates over time. And I think that one of the major failings of this book is that it treats Ryle's abuse like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, Ryle, the abusive character who on multiple occasions physically assaults his partner, the main character, justifies his actions by saying that he loses control, that he doesn't have control, and thus he should be pitied for that. It appears as if in the text we support this narrative that it is as simple as a switch that goes on and off, and not a pattern of behavior that exists all throughout everything he does. You know, it's not just an on-off switch of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I think that framing benefits the abuser by removing responsibility from his actions. So a more complex writing style could have analyzed that. However, the book itself is extremely didactic. I mean, the last line of the book is the title of the book. It's a message. It's a message book. Unfortunately, the book is bogged down by its own writing. It's just limited by what it is and what it can be. And I think that Colleen Hoover as a writer just maybe isn't able to fill the book as full as it wants to be. There are some really powerful statements in this book, though, and again, it's didactic and very clear-cut, but they are powerful and they're really effective. I wish cutting my feelings off for the person who hurt me was as easy as I used to think it would be. Preventing your heart from forgiving someone you love is actually a hell of a lot harder than simply forgiving them. I'm a statistic now. The things I've thought about women like me are now what others would think of me if they knew my current situation. I'm happy I read the book, and if you want to read it, then don't watch this next part of the video because I want to just rant a little bit, okay? So thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay. All right, now it's time. I died. I'm dead. Colleen! This book is part wish fulfillment fantasy, part nightmare. Lily, Blossom, Bloom. I don't love that name, but, you know, they're self-aware at least, right? So that first scene with Ryle and Lily, I thought, is she okay? Like, this guy is very off-putting. I mean, the first scene we see of him, he's beating up a chair on a roof. Like, what is that about? And then he just, like, escalates things in such a cringy way. It almost feels like how, like, a 16-year-old thinks it would be cool to, like, hit on somebody, like, and it's just not. It's just creepy, but, I mean, it seems to work for Lily, so. Something that really bugged me is Alyssa, Lily's best friend and Ryle's sister, is really not a good person. Okay, first off, I hate how she just happens to show up on the day Lily's there and just be like, hey, can I work for you? I'm super rich and I just like doing work. And then they become best friends instantly, just like she falls in love instantly. It's very contrived and very like, all right, this is like high school writing a little bit. I mean, obviously it has a certain polish to it, so it doesn't feel totally high school, but it's like, okay, give me a break. Like, I get it, you just want to have the best friend character here, and it opens up the ability for, you know, Ryle to come back into her life. Anyways, whatever. The fact that the second time Ryle hits Lily, I believe he pushes her down the stairs. Ryle goes to talk to Alyssa, and we see them talking, and Alyssa's like understanding of him or something, and she's like, talks to Lily and is like, look, you have every reason to leave him, but just hear him out first. Then Ryle explains to Lily how when he was a kid, he accidentally shot his brother in the head with a firearm. So he's been in therapy since then and has like rage that he just like goes into a blind rage. Like, how does Alyssa think this is justification for him throwing Lily down a flight of stairs? Like, how is she supposed to be a good friend? What was that about? Like, why? That's not good. Like, the third time he attacks Lily, Alyssa's like finally on Lily's side, but it's like that second time is like, and then it's just like accepted, and it seems almost in the text of the book, it's like, okay, we accept this, like he has issues, you know, but the problem is that the book frames his abuse as like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. It's just on off. And it seems almost like I'm ambivalent. I don't know completely if Colleen Hoover is aware of all the like abusive tactics that he made leading up to it and all of the red flags he showed, or if, like Lily, she thinks that it's just an on-off thing where he's just been great the whole time and then all of a sudden he's bad. I mean, the scene at the party when he just like grabs her and takes her to the room, and she's clearly not happy about it, and everyone just watches as he locks her in his bedroom. Is anyone okay with this? They're just letting... It seems weird. It seems messed up. And then when she says no, she doesn't want to have sex with him, he locks the door and makes her sleep with him in the bed. Not to mention all the whole, running down, knocking on 29 doors to try to find her, and then begging for sex. I mean, again, tastes. This isn't the book. Clearly this isn't the type of genre I'm into, and if some people are into that kind of romance, I don't know. Like if you're into that as a courting strategy, so be it. But I think that those were clearly signs that he was heading down the wrong path. Not to mention the dick way he was just like so dismissive of relationships and of other human beings in general. Obviously, there's also the element of everyone's like a successful millionaire. That's another thing that A Little Life did, where it just felt like everyone is, suffering from their success, or they're just so successful. They don't have to worry about money and like these other real practical things that would make it complex and bring the reader away from this kind of like wish fulfillment fantasy of everything going right, but then there's this one wrong thing. It's like, it makes it almost Shakespearean in a way, where it's like we're dealing with the kings and queens of modern world. They're successful, they're happy, but they have these big problems weighing down on them, and we get to experience suffering through them in a kind of like this pure lens because they don't have to worry about money or other stuff, Exercise. It's an interesting fiction exercise. I would be willing to read another Colleen Hoover book. But I like the conversation around it. I mean, clearly it's gotten me worked up, where I can talk about like, what was wrong here? What did Ryle do wrong here? And then, of course, I was interested in Atlas and Ryle's relationship. I thought the way that was weaved into the narrative was very good, except for the Ellen, obviously, thing, which didn't date very well, but what can you do? But having that interspersed in the narrative was nice. We get some flashbacks. I didn't think it was too cheesy or ham-fisted. That was pretty well done. I thought it would have been more interesting if Atlas was just a waiter, but they had to like make him also a successful business owner, chef, because, whatever. And then, of course, she has to be with him at the end, which I thought, it was predictable that she would, but it was necessary. Like, I also think, like, I don't think he saved her from the relationship. I think that Lily saved herself. Overall, the majority of the book, it is cringy writing. It's not super unique, and it's very bland. But again, I think the blandness adds to what makes it work. I think that's part of the effect. I'm on to you, Colleen Hoover. Anyways, let me know what you think of It Ends With Us. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.